Hey everyone, welcome to Dad Casual, where full-time dads and casual gamers come together to discuss everything we love about the games we wish we had more time to play. Thanks for being here. If you would, please take a moment to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and your favorite podcast platform of choice, and maybe even leave us a review. And if you have any questions, topics, or thoughts, feel free to email dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And without further ado, this is Dad Casual. Welcome to episode 23 here on Dad Casual. Man, 23. Today we discuss the long and storied history of movies and TV shows adapted from popular video games and how most of them are absolutely terrible. But there are a few shining examples that stand well above the rest for what game adaptations can be. Namely, The Last of Us on HBO, which we're all pretty excited about, I think. We're going to give our thoughts on that. Along with all the other ones. And as usual today, we have Preston Jensen.
Hey.
And Drew Bond.
Hey.
And I am Michael Jordan because 23. But no, my name is Houston Dragna. I'm definitely not Michael Jordan.
It's a really lame dad joke. All right.
Dang. Dude, you wrote it. What's up, guys? How's it going? How's the cruise life?
Wow.
Bro, cruise life was better than real life.
Sea? Really? Better than real life?
The open sea?
Yeah.
Singular?
Just one.
Just the one
we
sea.
were
That's
not really.
the phrase.
I've never heard it not plural.
Did you go to multiple seas? I don't think you did.
We didn't. So it's accurate, but it sounds really funny.
Get off my nuts, bro.
It is on the open sea.
Don't break. Oh, man.
Anyways, it was a great trip
tonight.
except at one point, the whole ship lost power.
Yeah.
Oh, that's never
and
good.
Terrifying. I was on the slots.
Drifted.
I was on the slots winning, and the power went out, and the slot machines went out.
It was right before you won. Like it was just it was about to like the 7 was like right about to line up with the other two.
However, the next morning, everybody was asleep, and I woke up very early, as I normally do. Went to the casino because it's open, you know. Put some money in, won my whole cruise back.
Killer.
The whole cruise?
Yep.
Dang, bro. You want
to be fair,
ladies and gentlemen, Preston won a cruise ship. That's impressive. Way to go.
So guys, it's just for reference, it's like a 4-day cruise and it's Carnival, the cheapest cruise. It's like $250. Cruises could not be cheaper, but he's correct. If you won,
this is the
that's all you got to win. Right?
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Real talk. There's nothing like cruises for bang for your buck. Just like you get,
is this where we
get
say
more
your
than
mom?
you pay for.
Is that where we? No,
you get more than we paid for. This is a family-friendly podcast.
I like just getting real close on the mic like that.
Whenever you're serious, you got to get all up in here. Oh man.
But yeah, so a little context. So yeah, y'all went on a cruise as like a vacation that y'all planned like forever ago because it was real cheap because people thought COVID was still going to like destroy the world. And then cruise lines were like, please give us your money. And so it was a really good deal. No. Or is this just a standard thing?
No, we travel every January. And so I think it was maybe summertime last year. We decided like, hey, what are we going to do? And we said, well, cruising's cheaper than getting even like one time we got a rental house in Destin, Florida. And this for the whole thing and all the food that comes with a cruise was cheaper than that house in Destin. So we're like, let's go.
Nice. We brought some board games, Switches. Didn't play much Switch. We did play a lot of board games.
With the internet being as terrible as it is, I basically played no games.
Bummer.
But we partied, we drank, we swam, we went to Cozumel. It was fun.
Nice. I did that for my honeymoon. Never since.
You should try to come with us next January. You got a year to save.
$250.
Right.
Don't give us that look.
I was busy. There were other reasons I didn't go.
What were you doing this weekend or this past week?
I was in Washington, D.C.
Oh, did you make any new laws?
I had a gig. No, actually, but I did see Jesus.
Wow.
You saw Jesus?
I did see Jesus. So there's a new TV show called The Chosen. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Bro, was he in Washington, D.C.?
The actor that played... So I was there for the March for Life. And they have like a big stage in like the National Mall, like kind of in front of Capitol Hill. Mm-hmm. And the guy that plays Jesus in The Chosen was one of the speakers. Super surreal because I had like literally just seen the show.
Interesting.
Even if you're not religious, the show's actually pretty like super well done. Like it's really well produced. The acting's pretty good. But yeah, the guy that plays Jesus was just the keynote speaker for the day.
Interesting.
Yep.
But it's not Jim Caviezel. Different guy.
No, I forget his name. Anyway, that was cool. DC was great. It's nice and cold. Played some cool music. Hung out with some cool folks.
Saw some dead presidents.
I think so. Spend some dead presidents.
Spend and see.
Yep. There it is.
But more importantly, what have you guys been playing? Andy, I know that you have one that you want to talk about. Why don't you enlighten us?
Yeah, for sure. So I had talked in a few podcasts. It's funny. I think you'll see a trend where like there's a game that I want to play and I'm like, I kind of want to play this game. Maybe I'll wait for a sale. But if I like talk about it and think about it enough, eventually I'm like, I want to play this game. Let's just do the thing. So Marvel Midnight Suns is a game that I recently picked up. I'd like to see how do they say it? So it's made by the same guys who make XCOM. If you like XCOM 1 and 2, it is a pretty interesting style of game that I don't really know. So they call it tactical role playing and turn-based and adventure all in one. It is made by Firaxis Games, like I mentioned, and basically the idea is you're controlling a squad of a team, and in the case it's Marvel, it's superheroes. So you're playing people like on my team are normal Avenger characters. Like there's Iron Man, there's Captain America, there's Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange. You know, a few of the familiar faces, Spider-Man. But then there's a bunch of different ones like that I didn't know very well, like Nico Moreno, Ghost Rider. You can play as Magic, the X-Men Magic.
Am I seeing Blade?
Blade.
That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
I keep on forgetting he's a Marvel character.
Mm-hmm. So some interesting, not like we haven't really seen them in the movies characters. And it's them working together to fight off kind of like the storyline's kind of bananas and hard to explain, but essentially there's an invasion, a supernatural invasion. And so it's very kind of board game strategy-esque where it is turn-based, but it's strategic across a map. But then you draw cards for each character, and that's how you determine what moves are available to you. So it's not like you're playing a card game. Like the cards just are it kind of adds a little bit of randomness, some RNG to the combat. But you know, like depending on who you're playing, like certain characters are really good at drawing cards so that you can find the good cards that you want. Other characters are really good at, you can only play 3 cards a turn. So like other characters like Spider-Man, to represent that they're fast, like if he KOs an enemy with a quick move, then it doesn't count as one of the cards for your turn. And so he has like one card that's amazing. That's like string together at one attack, for one card, you can hit 4 people as long as you KO each person along the way. And there are 2 types of bad guys in the game. There's ones that are just called like goons or whatever. They just take 1 hit of anything to kill. And then there are the ones with health bars. And so like Spider-Man's running around picking off the 1-hit guys, while maybe Captain Marvel is like focusing and trying to trap down the big guys with health. They can do tons of damage. And so it's actually, I really, really like the gameplay. I think it's, I just love board games. And so it kind of reminds me of a board game. It's really fun.
Nice. So the card system, is it anything reminiscent of Marvel Snap, or do you think they pulled any elements between those two games?
No, it's nothing. No, it's nothing like Marvel Snap, because Marvel Snap has more to do with like it plays like a card game. Like, I can't emphasize it. I know they're using cards, but it doesn't, like, there's no like I play a card, you play a card. If my card stats are higher, I win. Like, that's not how it is. Like, I have a turn, and when I play the cards, they disappear, and then it's your turn. And so maybe my card says heal for this much health, or maybe my card says raise defense, or put a counter on an enemy so that if they get hit, they counter it. It really does play like a board game.
Gotcha.
And probably one of the most unique aspects is there's this really interesting like world mechanic that the map you're on has all kinds of things like light poles that you can pull down and hit enemies with, or like maybe there's a red barrel, like, you know, a classic video game trope that if I use a card that says knockback, which knockback does what it says. Like, you can, when you hit the enemy, he's hit back in a direction. Well, if I can hit him into that red barrel, it explodes and he takes tons of damage, and anyone near that barrel takes tons of damage. And so then you're trying to hit people into each other, or like maybe you're trying to line everybody up in a small area, like knock several people back into a small area, and then like really drop something big on all of them. Like, nice. And so there's a lot of cool gameplay combo mechanics between all the characters. And man, I really like it. Now, I need to get into what I don't like about the game.
I have a quick question. Is there a PvP mode, or is it just PvE?
It's just PvE.
Okay. Gotcha.
So the side that's kind of shocking about this game that I wasn't ready for, and I'm constantly like, I don't like this, I don't think, is it's like a Persona friend simulator, like the second half of the game. Like, you go on battles, but then you go back to your clubhouse with the superheroes, and you try to become best buddies with everybody.
Oh, no.
And you get in, like, Iron Man wants to go on movie night, and you talk with Iron Man, and it's like terrible acting. And the game's like, that tells you like, well, if you can bring up your friend meters with all of these characters, you can then, like, that translates to benefits in combat when you go on missions. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing it because you have given me an incentive that feels worth it when I play the game, but the dialogue is just awful. It's so cringy. It's constantly, and I'm like, this game is so good. Why did you like surely, I think they were trying to break up the monotony of the combat, but I like the combat. Like, it's like, I don't know what they were thinking, honestly.
Man, that's that does sound very like forced.
And like, I don't know, you can buy gifts for them, and you can like,
oh, really?
They'll come up to you and be like, hey,
so it's a
so-and-so is sad. I think you should spend some time with them. And then you're like, crap, I got to spend time with them or else they're going to get weird.
So it's a dating sim on top of a tactics game.
But yeah. Oh, 100%. For a second, I thought it was going to get romantic. Doesn't seem to be any romance at all. It truly is the power of friendship. And it's just so like, why are you doing this? The game was fun as it is. Like, and then there are so many mechanics while you're at home base too, where like I don't mind the, like, you can pick one person to train with every day. And then if you train with that person, yes, you get friendship points or whatever, but you also get like a perk to while they're in combat, if you use that person on a mission now. And if you do different things, and there's like so many, like, you can get new cards over time. And then if you get two cards that are the same, you can combine them into a more powerful version of that. So I don't mind the upgrade systems like that. I like when we go back to base, I'm like, all right, let's upgrade all my gear. Like, that's what you should do in a game like that. You should like equip all your heroes with like new abilities or maybe new armor or whatever. But yeah, and there's this like super awkward like mystery, and your character isn't a Marvel character. It's a made up character, and it just doesn't fit into the world. It's just so weird.
Interesting. Yeah. Sorry. I'm still trying to like process like everything you've been saying. So it's like dating sim, new IP, but then like Midnight Suns is like an established IP with a bunch of established characters. Yeah, it's so weird that they didn't just leave it like as just like a solid tactics game, which it does sound like it's a fun, solid tactics game, which I'll go for every once in a while. But yeah, I mean,
and
you are enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it because honestly, you kind of can. I just like blitz through that part. Like I finally found the skip button. It was like skip dialogue. I don't care. I just want to make sure I make them happy. And then like there is kind of like a dark light meter too. Like you can be good or bad. It's terrible. It doesn't play well.
And it's only on next gen, right? And PC. I think.
I don't know. That's a great question. No, I think this is PlayStation 4, Xbox One.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But it is graphically not very beautiful.
Yeah, I would say that. It doesn't look super intense graphically.
No, it's not crazy. And so I'm not done with it. I think I have a lot more to play because I am still enjoying the combat a lot. But I will probably eventually give a few more thoughts once I get close to finishing the game or finish the game, so.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it for me. What do you guys playing anything?
Yeah, Preston, what about you, man?
Man, I have not played anything much. I have played probably 25, 30 minutes of the new, well, it's not Batman. What's it called?
Gotham Knights?
Gotham Knights.
Nice.
I think we've mentioned this game like every episode for the past 10 episodes. It's great.
Yeah. Well, there's a free trial on
that is
PS5.
We didn't mention that. Yeah.
So a 2-hour trial. So I was playing that actually today a little bit. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool looking.
I've put a few more hours into it, and yeah, I think it's actually pretty good. Like as it sits right now, it's probably like a 7 or 8 for me. Like it's not blowing my mind, but it is above average for sure. I think it's a really cool game. I know I got a bunch of hate, but yeah, it's also half price. So yeah, maybe if it was $70 and I paid that much for it, I might have some more nitpicking to do. Right. But at $35,
hard to beat. Yeah, so. It's a pretty good looking game too.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna continue playing that. I think this week when I have some time. But other than that, I mean, I played a couple rounds of Fortnite and Mario Maker.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been playing a lot of Fortnite too here and there, just because my son got the battle pass, and I now feel like I got to get our money's worth.
We played a couple rounds in the past week as well, like right before we left on our respective trips. So yeah, we were all on trips and stuff. So I think that explains why we haven't been playing so much. But cool. Yeah. All right, moving on. So a bit of news today. We have a lot to talk about for our main topic, so let's go ahead and kind of get through this. We don't have to like spend too much time, but today probably the most relevant thing is they had the Xbox and Bethesda Direct today. Yep. Where they went through all of their various first party developers and publishers and went through some of their upcoming games. So I'll list them off real quick and then we can kind of talk through what we want to. So Minecraft Legends was talked about today. I don't think it was announced, but it was just talked about. So it's like a RTS meets Minecraft type thing, meets a little bit of Diablo, maybe. Redfall, which is like the multiplayer zombie shooter. A little bit cartoony, not super serious. Forza Motorsport, which is the reboot of the OG, I think. It's like super next gen ray tracing, best graphics ever, like it always is. Super realistic tuning of the cars. Very nitpicky. If you're definitely into like racing sims, it's one to get into. And it is Microsoft exclusive. Hi-Fi Rush, which I didn't pay too close attention to, but it seems like a cartoon adventure, like Jet Set Radio kind of vibe type game as well. And then there was an Elder Scrolls Online chapter that was released called Necrom, or is about to be released. Also, they announced if you buy Necrom, I think you get all of the previous DLCs included. For like a limited
20
time.
Something of them.
Yeah, it's like 20 DLC packs. Paris Lilly at Kind of Funny called it the divorce pack, which I thought was hilarious. He's like, because you're either just got divorced or you're about to get divorced if you're playing all this DLC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
That's a lot.
But yeah, I know we were all watching it kind of like while we were working, so we may not have played like too close attention to it, but were there any standouts for you guys?
I mean, Forza Motorsport always looks, I feel like they have the standard for
like pretty racing
prettiest. Yeah. Just, they always have. I've never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it always, even as good as it looks, it's similar to like I think we talked about it with Call of Duty. Like if you play every year, it doesn't look like a big upgrade.
Yeah. I did mention that ray tracing is like a standard now in this one, which is like, that is a huge upgrade. If you're not used to it before, like to see like real time traced reflections and stuff, like you can see your car's like nameplate in the car next to you, which is really cool. Yeah. Sure. But yeah, I mean, it is just, it's made for like hyper realism. Just like Gran Turismo.
Yeah. I played on Game Pass on my Series S it's not the best one, but I played Forza Horizon, the newest one. And I remember thinking like, this is incredibly beautiful. Yeah. Like, and like the car games just always, I don't know if it's just because it's metallic and shiny and maybe that makes it easier than like skin and faces and hair, you know what I mean? But like, I just feel like car games, like whenever people show off like GTA 5 mods or, like what GTA 6 could be, it's always driving. That's always what they show. Because it just looks amazing. Like, and so I'm sure it is technically better, but it's getting to the point for me of diminishing returns. I am not noticing it as much, though I agree with you. I mean, active ray tracing is a big bump, and you'll see it more in other types of games, I think, not than car games.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're all on the same page. Like we'd probably prefer playing Horizon, like Forza Horizon instead of Forza Motorsport. Just, I'm not personally like a super sim, like ultra realistic racing game type of guy. I like my nitro and I like my indestructible cars and I like going off jumps and stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely more into those.
So we definitely didn't mention Hi-Fi Rush. I wanted to talk about for a second. First off, I think that was the only big announcement of the day. I think the rest were, Redfall was just more Redfall. Minecraft Legends to me looks kind of niche. I think kids might like it. It's got an interesting vibe to it.
I thought it looked fun.
I think it looks fun and I would try it. But the reason Hi-Fi Rush was the big one is, one, no one knew about that game. They just announced it. The other 4 games we knew about. And 2, it was a shadow drop. That game is available today, right now.
That's true. Okay, I remember that.
So Hi-Fi Rush, I just want to talk about a little bit. It is by Tango Gameworks, which is one of Bethesda's studios. They did the Evil Within series.
Which is a wild departure from what this game is.
Correct. They also did Ghostwire Tokyo. That's their most recent game. And so Hi-Fi Rush is this anime stylist, very stylish action adventure game, but it's a rhythm game. So you're doing like combat action set to music. And so like we've seen other rhythm games like that recently with shooters. I know like we very recently just talked about that, which like different games that like where you do combat to the beat. But this is the first one in a while that I've seen that's melee combat like that. And so I think it looks cool. It's just, I don't know. It's very stylized. I would say like this is the type of game that if you have Game Pass, like I do, I'm gonna check it out. It's free. Why would I not check it out?
Nice. I'll show my inner like anime nerd here. If you're a fan of Fooly Cooly or FLCL, there's a guy with a robot arm holding looks like a guitar, like jumping through the air and like smashing stuff with it. So that's kind of right on par if you're a fan of that anime series.
I read it was DMC mixed with Guitar Hero.
That's a cool concept.
Yeah. And this is cool. Hi-Fi Rush will include licensed music from real bands, some of which are like the Black Keys and 9 Inch Nails.
That's super cool.
I mean, that's like, I'm not a big 9 Inch Nails fan, but I'm a Black Keys fan. And I think that's awesome.
But it's so, like, I mean, you know who 9 Inch Nails is, and you could probably point out a couple of their songs, which is
100%.
Nice.
So like, I'm in. Can we talk about just like outside of these games specifically? I feel I feel just this sense of disappointment overall from Xbox.
Oh, definitely. They've just been, I don't know really how to put it other than it seems like they've been lacking, but it's like they could just be like getting all their ducks in a row for like 2024 and then just knocking it out the park. I don't know.
I'm going to be honest. I thought they were getting all their ducks in a row for like 2021. And it's 2 years later and they're still, I'm like, when are you finally going to knock these pins down, Xbox? Like I'm waiting for that moment where they're like, here's Fable, here's Elder Scrolls 6, here's all the games that here's the games that you didn't know about that we were making in the shadows that are just crazy. Like, it's just, I'm ready for it. And
Ryan McGaffrey at IGN was saying, I heard an episode of Next Gen Console Watch on IGN, that he thinks the two of the biggest keys for Xbox to succeed this year is, one, to release Starfield and it be a 9 or a 10, and two, for them to make a huge game announcement like in Elder Scrolls 6 or something like that. So I think I'm right there with you. That this is the reason I don't own an Xbox currently, and that most of us are primarily PlayStation players, is because we love the exclusives, we love the constant drip feed of like awesome content that we get. The controller's better in my opinion.
I would add one more. I think those are great. I think you do, like you said, Starfield ends up being actually amazing. Huge one. I think if you have a huge game announcement, but something we already know about, like Fable, let's say it's Fable or Elder Scrolls 6, we're launching that next year or whatever. Cool. That's a big announcement that everyone's been waiting for. I think they need a third thing, which is a brand new announcement of a game we don't know that's coming, that is like that has that Elden Ring or like expectation, something with just, oh my gosh, I know that's going to be the biggest game when it comes out. Now they don't have to like show a lot, but like show me this crazy. Aren't they making like an Indiana Jones game?
They are doing
or whatever.
They are doing that. So there's a couple. What
is that an Xbox exclusive?
It's it will be.
Because it's
from
Bethesda.
what I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
There's Beyond Good and Evil 2, which the trailer for it like 3 years ago looked incredible. And then the one that I'm actually probably most interested to learn more about and to actually see gameplay from is the Perfect Dark remake from The Initiative, because that is their first and only game so far. Am I right? So for those of you that don't know what The Initiative is, that is when Xbox started acquiring all these studios and stuff. They started launching their own, what they called their first quad A studio. And so like you heard the term AAA game, and that just means like this big blockbuster, like high budget game. But there's a new category that's kind of been like kind of pseudo emerging called quad A, which is like your The Last of Us, your God of War, your Halo, your Gears of War, that kind of thing.
It's ultra high, high,
like the highest budget, the highest development quality games out there. And so The Initiative is Xbox or Microsoft's first in-house quad A studio, like that's dedicated to making games only of that caliber. And the game that they're starting with is Perfect Dark, and it's currently in development. So we haven't heard anything about it in a while. So I'm interested to see more about that.
You wouldn't consider 343 and like Halo Infinite a quad A game?
Yeah. It's just they didn't put the same emphasis on it that they kind of built the hype around The Initiative with. Just because I think Bungie and 343 were kind of just trucking along already.
I think that 343 has dropped the ball a little, and therefore like it's not that, but like obviously Xbox wanted it to be that. It just wasn't.
And there was just a huge amount of layoffs at Microsoft, and Xbox chopped a large portion of the 343 development team out of the picture. So there was actually a bunch of just like press stories about 343. It's like, hey, we're still making Halo. We're going to get through this, that yada, yada, yada. But tough times in the game industry, as far as I understand recently. But yeah, we can talk more about that as kind of more information about that develops. But yeah, I think Xbox, especially like E3 this summer, that's going to be their time to shine, or like some kind of conference of their own around that time. I think is definitely going to be well needed They are doing something for Starfield soon by itself. So I'm interested to hear more about that. Moving right along, just a quick one. We're not going to talk about this. We already kind of decided before we started the podcast today that this is just an announcement. We're not going to give our take on it yet until anything is certain. But Justin Roiland, the creator of Rick and Morty, or one of the creators of Rick and Morty and High on Life from Squanch Games, is currently under allegations and charges of domestic abuse. And he has already been removed from the roster from Adult Swim, the studio that creates Rick and Morty, and he has left Squanch Games. So take that for what you will. That's just information and facts that we know. We're not going to speculate on anything and call names or point fingers or whatever, because we don't really know any more detail than what's been put in the media yet. So I think it's mostly just headlines at this point. So we'll kind of see where that goes.
Yeah. It was a very complicated issue from, he does voices too. It's not like he's just a producer, And so there's a lot to that. And I think at the moment that we trust the accusation and we let the investigation play out and whatever's happening. And I just hopefully justice happens. And it just sucks when, things like that happen around big properties. I think we see that. I think I could even connect that. It's not as direct, but when you have scandals like around J.K. Rowling and the new Hogwarts Legacy game coming out, there are issues plaguing that are connected to that game, and it's a shame because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of employees that have nothing to do with those issues.
Yep,
but
they just love the IP and they want to work on the IP and. It's tainted because of one person. Yes.
So yeah, I would agree. I think everyone listening, you just take it with what you will and you look it up.
Yeah. Yep. Moving right along. So Preston, there's a game that you've been kind of excited for that's been under some weird situational aspects lately. So why don't you go ahead and introduce us to that?
Yeah. So the day before, it's kind of a zombie apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic.
Zombie apocalypse, post-apocalyptic zombie story. Those are popular right now.
Yeah. So, but this one,
no kidding,
looked amazing and also had the whole ray tracing, beautiful,
like super high end, like kind of AAA feel to it.
Yeah, and you could almost interact with anything, but it's a small studio. They haven't done much.
So what happened with it?
And so, anyways, they announced it, I think, in 2021.
Yes.
And they showed off some of the basically scripted, pre-built stuff. It's a survival horror, third person. Sorry. And it became Steam's, I think, number 2 wishlisted game of all time.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know it was that high.
It was so
really
high.
Highly expected.
Well, I believe today or this morning or last night or something. Hold on. Let me go back a little. They postponed it once. Not sure. I don't remember why. But then they postponed it again last night, this morning to November 10th. But today was also supposed to be video of the actual gameplay today. And they've also delayed that until...
So a bunch of delays.
Yeah.
So far. And a last minute delay.
Yes. Well, and then also they today said right before the release, this was the first thing that came from their Twitter. It wasn't like hearsay. Right before the release, Steam blocked our game page at the request of a private individual because of the name The Day Before. As you know, the game was announced in January 2021. At the time of the announcement, The Day Before game trademark was available. So it's basically trademark is what they're saying. But last night, also, according to Reddit, they had already started taking things down. It's a really weird situation because on the Reddit page and also in their own Discord chat, they're taking back a lot of things that they had said before. And on their Twitter, they're deleting things, and all the artwork on Steam obviously is gone because the game is gone now.
That's no good. Just side note, the font that they're using for their title is like verbatim, like a ripoff of The Last of Us. It's the same font type with like the same like broken, distressed treatment. It's hilarious. But the game does look really cool. Like the pre-rendered stuff that I'm watching from like the gameplay demos does look super clean.
It looks incredible.
So the part you fill me in more on this, but from what I've caught is that there's even like people online are accusing the game of potentially not even being real or existing, and somehow this is all a fraud.
Yeah, I don't know what the scam is. The first delay was they were going from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5.
Sure.
That's a fair, like, if you want to make the game better, let's go. Like,
and honestly, delays aren't weird. Like, people delay games all the time. Like,
for sure.
How many games get delayed, especially small studios?
Yeah, and this is apparently a very small studio.
So were they actually taking pre-orders, or was it just like up on Steam? Okay, so they haven't taken anybody's money yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Except maybe some investors.
Yeah, that could be the scam there, I guess.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Well, it's definitely strange. I will say it's weird to not have the IP not have the trademark for the name of your game. And I'm like, that's like one of the first things you do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess if you're super small and you don't know what you're doing, but Fantastic is the name of the developer, and they are based out of Russia. So I don't know.
Yeah. A year ago, they announced that the release date was going to be on 6/21/2022.
Ooh, missed it just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But so does Bethesda.
Yeah, but Starfield's been pushed quite a bit.
Yeah, I get it. But this, just even to get a gameplay trailer or something like that would be...
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yep.
Very interesting. Well, very, very interesting.
Can't wait to see more. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So last little news story before we get to our main topic. Forspoken. The reviews are in, and they're not super great. So after playing the demo...
What happened?
After playing the demo, I was like, like the gameplay's fun enough, but like they didn't give you any story context, and it felt kind of barren. So like maybe it was just like more of a technical demo than like an actual full game. Like, here's a slice of the game. So I was hopeful because it's Square Enix, and I love my Square Enix, but man, after seeing kind of just some of the like the IGN review and like just kind of seeing some of the more of the gameplay and the story beats and lack thereof, and
not feeling it.
Yeah, just it kind of just seems just like the demo, just a whole lot more of it, which is very unfortunate. So
I gotta be like, I understand that some people are weird about like reviews, and they're like, why would you trust review? You got to try a game yourself. You know what? Do what you, at the end of the day, trust whatever you want. But this is not an isolated few reviewers. This is a lot. I mean, if you go through the Metacritic, like it's an average of 68 right now out of 100 across all reviewers. It's pretty rough. And if some reviewers that I really, really respect trashed it, like really trashed it. And I don't know if it deserves that much hate. I think it's a typical Square Enix thing where they don't give her like a code early enough to let reviewers take the time to review the game thoroughly. They didn't show like a lot of the gameplay trailers, and even apparently, like you said, the demo don't show enough of the game, or they show it's just very marketing, you know what I mean? So it's...
Yeah, and I feel like Square Enix, it's so weird because like they don't... This is a first-party Square Enix game from what I understand. This isn't like Crystal Dynamics, like the Tomb Raider series.
Right.
Because those are really cool. But then like also like the Final Fantasy series, like they're not for everybody, but they rarely like just straight up miss.
Right.
And
they don't
feels
bomb.
like a Final Fantasy like that bombed because it was first-party Square Enix. And so, yeah, from the demo, like just it felt empty. It didn't feel like what we've talked about before is quote unquote lived in, like for as much of like a high fantasy, like heavy lore based system. that they were kind of going for, where it's like you're in this magical world and you have a talking bracelet and you can fly and you're given magical powers. It just seemed like there wasn't enough to kind of like support that narrative enough to like make it interesting. And then even some of the game, like it just like the particle effects and the combat looks amazing, but like the character models don't look like particularly like fantastic. And so I just feel like there's a solid idea there, but then it didn't get kind of fleshed out the way it needed to be.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Gary Whitta from Kind of Funny, who also was a writer on Star Wars Rogue One, helped write the lore for this game. But that's where it stopped. He wasn't on game development teams or anything like that. He just kind of helped write the kind of framework lore, which does seem cool. But like I said, it doesn't seem like they went deeper than that.
Yeah. I've heard that it's the type of game where it's like, you can explore, but you don't get anything good if you do. And the dialogue is terrible. And like, that seems to be the consistent that like maybe the gameplay and traversal is kind of fun.
I've heard all the tasks repeat. Like the map is just littered with like 47 of the same thing.
It's the kind of open world where you're just, you're no matter what you do, you're just doing the same thing again, everywhere you go. Again, I have not played it at all. And you guys have played the demo, but it's a shame. It looked really interesting and cool, especially from the trailers. I'm kind of bummed. I was hoping this was going to be a huge hit.
Yeah. Bummer. I'm still hopeful for Square Enix with Final Fantasy 16 later this year. That should be good.
But you know what is a huge hit?
The Last of Us on HBO.
Oh, tell us about it, Houston.
Oh, I am so excited.
This is spoiler free, right?
No. Yeah, we are. I wish we could talk spoilers, but the thing is, it's like if you played the game, which is from 2013, we're not spoiling really anything. I mean, there are some details and stuff, but anyway, we'll keep
There are so many people who haven't played the game.
I know.
Though,
we'll keep it largely spoil free. We'll call that right now. Largely spoil free. Nothing that you haven't seen in the trailers. So The Last of Us is a zombie apocalypse story based on a video game by the studio Naughty Dog, written by Neil Druckmann and Bruce Staley. There's some drama there, but I won't get into that. But it is adapted for HBO as a mini series. It's like, I think it's going to be 9 episodes long. They're pretty long episodes. The first one was over an hour. Second one was like right at an hour. And I think they're all going to be between 45 minutes and 90 minutes, kind of just depending on what they want to show. It is starring Pedro Pascal from The Mandalorian and Game of Thrones, Bella Ramsey, who is also in Game of Thrones, Anna Torv from Fringe, and a bunch of other really cool people like Nick Offerman is in it from Parks and Rec, which I thought was kind of funny.
I won't spoil it. Yeah,
he plays a character later on, but
I haven't seen him yet.
No, he's in one of the trailers. That's the only reason I know.
I don't think any of us have.
No, I think he's in episode 3. So there's only been 2 episodes so far. But man, this is by far, no question about it, the best adaptation of a video game ever made, in my opinion. Yep. And I don't think there's any contest. Like, I don't think that anything even kind of comes close. I think
all I know is Pedro and Bella both die.
Everybody does eventually, man.
In their in Game of Thrones.
Okay, I am not crowning it the best yet after 2 episodes.
Wait, what?
Oh,
there's just
after the first episode, I was there.
Yeah, I was hooked. I was like, this is the best. Just straight up. I thought it was the best because you don't have to like video games to love this story.
You don't have to have played the game to enjoy this. You don't have to like video games.
That has to be true about that.
I would like to know,
be true.
Andy, does your wife like it?
Yeah, she's really into it.
She really likes it? Or
but we also both watch. So the only thing that I can think that compares, and I know this is on our list we're going to go through, is Arcane, the League of Legends TV series that was a smash hit, and my wife loved and watched with me too.
I really liked it too. I watched the whole thing. But yeah.
I know they are not even close to the same type of content. One's animation, one's live action, I understand, is drastically different.
Yeah.
But man, that was just, that was such a good. It was
very good. But let's talk about that more after we get done with the Last of Us chat.
Yeah, because I have questions about that, like emotionally connected. Is there a story in League of Legends, or was it just adapted by the characters and then they created a story? But we'll get back to that.
We'll get to it for sure. So initial thoughts, like what are you guys, what are your impressions? I'm in love with it. I think it's incredible. I think it's terrifying. I think it's emotional.
Yes. Emotional has to be the first episode. So my wife hates horrors, hates zombies, hates all of that.
And please don't spoil anything.
Nope.
Okay.
I will try not to. If we do, we'll edit it out.
Yes.
But, and I will not spoil anything here. My wife didn't make it through 30 minutes of the show. It was too much. And I was okay.
Oh, not disinterest or
not disinterest. Just couldn't, she knew she wouldn't be able to sleep.
Oh gosh.
It was too high and nothing had even happened yet. Like we haven't even,
I mean, sometimes that's the scariest part is the buildup. Yeah, it just is. But
then the scene happened. No spoilers. That we all know. That scene in the first episode, and she looks over at me under the covers and goes, "Did that happen?" And I was like, "Yep." And I was emotional, and I knew what was going to happen.
I was like not just like tearing up. I was sobbing. Like I was like. Like
dang.
That
first episode
because when I can't even say it.
So you can't.
I was at a point in my life when I first played the game that I am now at a different point in my life that affects me differently, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yep, same. And you knew it was coming.
I did.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing is that this game or this series, the first season, from what I understand, will almost exactly follow the story of the first game, and then season 2 will be the second game. Which is really cool.
I'm actually kind of jealous of people maybe that didn't play the game.
Yes.
This is where I was going. I was going to say that like maybe that is what's making me. I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. I think it is produced perfectly. It is amazing. But at times, okay, you know how like if you were to think of Preston, if you were to think of like the N64 wrestling games, you're like, yeah, they look so realistic.
Yeah.
And then if you looked at them, you'd be like, what? In a way, while watching the show, I'm like, I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But I've literally seen this before.
It's like watching The Passion of the Christ when you're like, I know this guy dies and comes back, but I'm going to watch it and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Preston went there.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're saying. But like, and now to be fair, I looked at a side-by-side comparison of like that IGN put out of like the game versus the show. And I was like, oh man, the show looks amazing.
Yeah, so obviously. It is not, to be clear, it is not shot for shot. So they hit the same story beats, but they do change them. But it's close.
It's pretty close. I mean,
there are scenes that are shot for shot.
Yes.
But it's not the entire thing.
But it's not the
correct. Or there are shots in scenes that are shot for shot and then other shots aren't. Like, and there are a little bit of story and narrative changes that I thought when they explained in like after the episode, I was like, that does make sense. I like that. That's a cool thing, especially in the second episode near the end.
Yes.
There's a really cool change that is not in the game that I can't talk about. I don't know. Again, I think the show's amazing, but maybe that is where I like look at a different adaptation where it's not quite as one for one. And I'm like, oh, this is a brand new story. I think of like all the Star Wars shows that happen now. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know what the story is at all. So it feels fresh.
Right.
Like my wife and I just finished Andor, which was an incredible, not based on a game. And so I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but like it was amazing and everything was still a surprise. Where like one downside of The Last of Us is for the most part, I'm not really going to be surprised.
No, you won't. But I do think it's really cool to see it acted. So the original Last of Us came out in 2013 on the PS3, and they did just do the part 1 remake
on the PS5.
So it does look better, but it's still not the same as having a real actor and seeing all the tiny emotion that can go into a real human face. Especially, so shout out to, I put it on here. What's his name? Barry Gower, the makeup effects artist.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Good Lord. So what's so cool about this show is it's not just full on CGI. There are like we said, it's a zombie movie. There are zombies. but it's based off of a fungus based infection. And that's not spoiling too much, but they did practical effects of these like fungal spores and like wild growths all over like the walls and the people, and like the makeup is incredible. This guy worked on Stranger Things. He's responsible for the way Vecna looks in Stranger Things 4. He worked on The Witcher. He worked on Game of Thrones. Like this guy has like a pedigree of like modern sci-fi and fantasy stuff. But yeah, the practical effects that they're using in combination with some of the CGI is like bar none. It's so incredible.
Yeah, really cool. And if you've played the games, and I don't feel like this is a spoiler, but like the clickers, that's one of the types of, we say zombies, they're technically still alive. They're not the risen dead. They're just the fungus has taken over their brain, right? So it's like, it's weird. They're not really zombies, but and it doesn't matter either way. It's this, we treat them just like zombies, right? Where was it? What was I just talking about? I lost
the way they look, the makeup.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's incredible.
And so I was watching some interviews of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, like the two main characters, and they were saying like they actually didn't watch the games, but like Neil Druckmann, the director, was saying that like the first time he saw like one of his digital creations in the real world, it like made him, it like brought tears to his eyes, because like it was like the actors were able to like really like feel a sense of horror, like while they like saw these things like in front of their face. And they got the actors that like, some of them actually did the voices in the games for the monsters. And so like they know how to like move like them and sound like them and do these like really creepy screechy noises and stuff. So
well, no. Apparently, they said this in the after thing that the clicker, they were just fans of the game.
Was it okay?
Who just auditioned, and then the sounds. You are correct though. The sounds I think that are added in post are the actual voice actors of the clickers in the game.
Yeah. So
and I also want to add on. You mentioned that it's the same guy who from different properties who did the costumes. The producers of the show, if you've seen, are the same people who did Chernobyl on HBO.
It's the showrunner, Craig Mazin, is the same guy from Chernobyl. Yes.
Chernobyl's one of the best things I've ever watched. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And if you like The Last of Us, watch Chernobyl. It's kind of just as scary. It's crazy. That show's nuts.
What's the funniest thing to me is that this is the same game studio that brought you the Tom Holland movie Uncharted, because that's one of their games as well. It's so wild to me that is the same studio. It's still a PlayStation property, and it's both Naughty Dog Studios. And they couldn't be more different.
The Uncharted movie should have had a better producer.
Yeah, it was a bunch of like, hey, let's throw a bunch of money at it and get Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland and call it a day. It was,
You're gonna get Mark Wahlberg as Sully? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, just anyway. That one was very meh for me. So I guess that might be a good like kind of transition point into what do we think are some of the best video game adaptations into movies and TV, and what are some of the worst. So maybe let's start with the best, because we already mentioned Arcane, which I'm definitely with you is one of the most well-written video game shows in my opinion.
So I have back to my questions. Like,
ask it.
League of Legends, I've seen y'all play. I've tried to play once or twice. I'll try and play again, maybe one day. Are there backstories to each of the characters? Is that what this is?
So they're in the game, you don't see much of it unless you like read the descriptions of stuff, but there is a lot of backstory and lore that you can kind of dig into. And Arcane is based on Vi and Jinx, which are two playable characters in League of Legends that are sisters.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like their origin story. And then they're framing some of the other characters. So like League of Legends has like this world that they've built, and like these different characters are from these different essentially like continents or countries. And so like some of the bad guys are from like this one area, and then like Vi and Jinx are from this like kind of more modern area with like a lot of like high thinkers and philosophers and stuff and scientists. And then there's like an underworld, there's like an astral plane, there's all these kind of like different like pieces of the lore they've kind of put together. But there's nothing that's been like, well, they do have like cinematics that they'll do at the beginning of like seasons and stuff in the game that are kind of cool. But it's mostly just for Flash. They don't really put a whole lot of like story substance into it. So this was a really cool way for the team to kind of flesh out some of that lore. And they did it bang on in my opinion. And they're kind of creating something from not much, from what I understand, other than just kind of like the base facts. And you might be able to kind of explain that a little bit more, but it seems like this is just kind of a new thing that's just really well written.
So the only thing I would add or ask to that, it seems like The Last of Us is one of the few that actually like follows the game story. I don't know of another one, even on our list, looking at it real fast, that like follows the video game story like it's doing so far.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like Halo kind of does, like it follows some of the lore and some of the backstory, but like The Last of Us is like the game. You're watching a movie version of the game.
Yeah.
Like I would argue like the Witcher series on Netflix theoretically could get there, but they've like so far the seasons have been like all prequel and like leading up to the events of the game.
Gotcha.
At least The Witcher 3, which is the only one I've played.
Those are based off of books originally, right?
And and that's the other thing is that a lot of times it's like a book, then a game, then a movie, or a book, then a movie, or like rarely is the game the first iteration of a story narrative content. I mean, there's just not a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the case of The Last of Us, like that is the case. It is just a game and now it's a TV series. And that is one of the most well-written pieces of like media period that I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, like for example, I would bring up another good adaptation are like the Sonic movies, right? But if you were to describe the Sonic games storyline, there isn't even a main one,
right?
Like
there's not.
You'd be like, which one is it? Sonic 1, 2, 3? What do we like? What are you? And then even if you were to say, okay, Sonic 2, what's the story? I'd be like, I don't know. Eggman steals the rubies and then Sonic wins them back. I don't like. There's just not enough to go off of there,
right?
So yeah, I think Arcane is a similar way where like they created a world and they have every character has deep backstory and some of them have relations and they fit into factions or teams within that world. And then someone took that, which was like, and to be fair too, League of Legends does have lots of books. There are books written off of that. Runeterra is the name of that world. And so like, there are several. There's an Echo book. There's a different ones. But again, I don't think you could point to like this is the main story. In the same way that like clearly Left Behind is not the main story, and the main Last of Us games are the main story, right?
Sure. Like
there was DLC that was side, but you know it's very clear what's the main story, and so. Yeah, and maybe that's also what people like. They want, like most people in Star Wars, there's a million Star Wars side stories, but most people, they like the main storyline.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have any more questions about that one, Preston, or is that it?
No, I think I just didn't understand. And I think by asking the question of The Last of Us actually following the video game is, like you said, the beginning of this media or this storytelling. The video game is the beginning. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then the show. It's not a prequel or a sequel or anything like that. It actually is just the video game.
One for one. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Here's one that might follow the direct main story that was also highly acclaimed, but I didn't watch it. Castlevania on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Okay.
I didn't see it.
So I feel like that's one we can't comment on. But that one is super highly reviewed and rated and does follow the storyline, I believe, of the Castlevania games.
And it's an animated series, right?
Yes, it is animated. The same people who did it, though, I did watch, they did a prequel Witcher animated show called Night of the Wolf or something like that. It was awesome.
They're not related to the ones that did Cyberpunk Edge Runners, did they? Because that one's also super highly rated as well, from what I understand. That one's more of like kind of like a pseudo like Japanese anime style type thing. I've heard it's also very like gory and mature and crazy, but so is Cyberpunk. So I guess it's kind of fitting.
Makes sense.
Another one while you're looking that up, I actually really enjoyed Detective Pikachu with Ryan Reynolds.
I liked it too.
I thought it was pretty adorable. I thought it was a passable story. The animation was incredible. It was a really well done mixed CGI live action film. Who was it? The famous Japanese actor from like The Last Samurai, Watanabe. What's his name? Ken Watanabe. He's in it as well, which he's one of my favorite actors. I could have fooled you because I couldn't remember his name, but but yeah, it's funny. It's like quirky. It's a great family film. I think it was really cool. Another, I thought pretty decent one was the Halo TV series. I don't know if y'all saw that one on Paramount.
Didn't that one get pretty bad reviews?
I think it may not have gotten like super glowing reviews, but I didn't think it was terrible. I will say it didn't have me waiting for like the next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was better than average. It was definitely on like the not awful side of the spectrum that we're about to talk about. Any other ones that you guys kind of like stick out as like, okay, that's pretty good? I think most of them fall into the this is pretty bad category.
Yeah, some people like the Halo series, I guess. Did you mention that?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, Andy was lost in the sauce on Google over there.
I don't think they're the same ones. I do. The animation people that did Cyberpunk did do the new He-Man Masters of the Universe on Netflix.
Oh snap! The throwback.
So I watched that with Noah. It was kind of good, but they only did the animation, not necessarily direction.
Gotcha. Well,
which is very interesting.
It may be a good time to then turn to the losers of the group, the truly, oh my gosh, the picture, the truly awful video game adaptations, which I think none trump the original live action Super Mario Brothers from 1993.
Womp womp.
What?
Womp.
You mean Bob Hoskins as Mario isn't the way to go?
That movie gave me nightmares.
Probably I want to go watch it again.
And then Preston just dropped this like just absolute garbage fire of a picture of one of the is that Bowser?
Goombas. No, that's a
Goomba. Those are the Goombas. Those are Goombas.
It's just one of the Goombas.
Yep.
Man, they just look like they just took a human face and just slapped a bunch of scales and sharp teeth on it, and it's nightmare fuel for real.
You know what I liked in that movie though? They made Princess Peach like a Ellen Ripley heroine. Like she was badass. She'd like kick in the door with her like.
Yeah, but it was a very 90s like buddy cop like action comedy.
It was.
I remember the end of that movie where there was the Ba-Bomb. It was like walking on the bridge, but it was like a wind up toy.
Oh yeah,
and I was like,
forever since I've seen it. So I mean, that movie came out when I was 1 year old.
Maybe that's why, Andy, going back to The Last of Us, why you can't do it. Your memory is too good. So you're like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
That's not entirely true. There are definitely moments. Earlier, didn't you tell me I have terrible memory? I swear you said that to me tonight.
Or are you forgetting?
I'm forgetting. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely moments. I mean, The Last of Us, the very end of that second episode, definitely like I was like, that was new and fresh and different and amazing. So I was just saying that at the moment it's only 2 episodes and I'll let you know when it's done. I mean, I did the same thing for a long time with Elden Ring, being like, I'm not saying it's one of my favorite games until I got to let that marinate for a while. You know, I guess I got to think about it.
Yeah, I guess.
Ask me in a year, am I still thinking about it? I
guess it's not too early for them to like ruin it, but I really don't think they're going to. But anyway, so let's get back to this, the losers list. The next one on my list was the original Doom movie with The Rock. They actually made a newer one back in 2019, but I remember that first one, like it was like the like kind of Scorpion King era of CGI, just like really rough. Just The Rock was definitely not in his prime in terms of acting. Bad story, terrible CGI, really hard to watch. Y'all help me out. What's been some bad ones that you've kind of seen recently?
Mortal Kombats were always, I thought, just overdone, horrible.
Like the old 90s ones and then the new ones. I've actually seen both of them. Or
I just remember the old 90s ones and it was just horrible, horrible like, I mean, just like you said with Doom, like CGI was just garbage and
almost non-existent in that movie.
Yeah, I felt like it was like trying to be gory for the sake of gory. Obviously that's what Mortal Kombat is, but it didn't match up with the game at all.
So I mean, are we saying, so like, what can we pull from this though? Is it better to stick to the game more closely, or like, is it okay to take liberties, or like, maybe if there is such a really well-established story like The Last of Us, it's worth kind of just like sticking to it. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to see like a Last of Us prequel to be like in that 15 to 20 year gap of like, what was Joel doing for the past 10 years before he met Ellie?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's depending. I think when something, first, like we talked about before, there's not a lot of games like The Last of Us, but when something is so beloved and so narrative already in its presentation, I think you stick closely to the source material. And I think so far The Last of Us is doing everything right. But then, yeah, like, how do you adapt? Again, like we talked about Sonic or any of these games, like, what does sticking to the source material even mean? With those, you have the freedom to kind of just, you're going to need to make up a story a little bit more than a story like The Last of Us.
Well, it looks like in our list of like bad ones, most of them aren't known for their story.
One of the worst ones that I saw was I think we're on the same page, but the Monster Hunter one. Monster Hunter doesn't really have a story. It's like there are monsters that invaded this island and you have to go kill them. Go do it. And then they just decided to make this like Godzilla but like in America, and it's one of the worst rated like movies I've ever seen. It has like an 18% or something like that on Metacritic. It's terrible.
But then if you look at the good ones, like all of those have at least some story, right? Even Sonic, like you gave a very basic story to that, stealing the rubies and whatever, but there's a story. And with the live action Mario, they didn't stick to that story at all. Like, I
mean, literally every Mario game is Bowser steals the princess.
Yeah.
And a plumber saves her. Yes. That's it. That's the end.
Yep.
But you can make that's a basic story, That's the question. Man, I really wonder how good is that going to be, and how are they going to craft that into a more intricate story, something that's interesting.
The new Mario movie coming out this year with Chris Pratt and Jack Black and all those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think every trailer I've seen, I love. I think the world is perfect. But I don't know.
It definitely gives me like Wreck-It Ralph vibes. It's very well written, kind of witty, kind of fun, very family oriented.
And I think comparing that, after that comes out and The Last of Us is done airing, being like, what's the best adaptation? I'm be like, I don't know. They're so different. Like, they're not going to be remotely similar. Like, that's going to be more based on your tastes.
Yep.
Like, if you like Disney and Illumination and like those type of Pixar, then maybe the Mario movie is your thing. I don't know.
I think that one's going to have some pretty big mass appeal. And I think that's what they were going for, especially with that cast.
When I was a kid, I actually did like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raiders.
Really?
I bet you did.
Was there more than one?
Yeah, I did.
Did she do more than one?
Yeah, there's two.
Okay. And then there was a newer one kind of like more akin to like the Rise of the Tomb Raider games, right?
Yeah, correct. It was a little more like grounded and less, those movies were made in like the 2000s. So like, yeah, they were ridiculous, but they were fun. I thought they were fun. They were like treasure hunting movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I was really hoping for Uncharted to be more of like a true like Indiana Jones like the games are. But they just decided to tell their own story with it, and they didn't really stick to the game lore a whole lot. I mean, I guess they did for a little bit of it, but they kind of just made their own thing out of it as well. But it would have been kind of cool to just been like, all right, here's Uncharted 1, the movie. because that one is very different now because that's a much older game. I think that's PS2 era. And so like, it would have been cool to see like that story told in live action, but c'est la vie.
Yeah. It's interesting to everything we're talking about. Like we called it the curse of the video game adaptations for a reason, because all the good ones we listed like only came out within the last few years.
Yeah.
Like the curse was pretty much broken with Detective Pikachu, if you think about it. You're not, well, yeah, I guess. Name a movie before Detective Pikachu that was a good, like a really, like a solid video game adaptation.
Did Sonic 1 come out? Did Sonic 1 predate that one? I think it did.
I don't think so.
I think Jim Carrey, the first Jim Carrey Sonic movie, it was close.
What about the Angry Birds movie?
Oh, it's just amazing.
I mentioned earlier that actually there was another one of those like Illumination style, like kind of like funny, good CGI, like not the best written thing ever. I don't really remember the story points, but I remember it being not absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Nope. Sonic came out a year later.
Okay.
What year did Sonic come out?
2020. February 14th, 2020 versus May 2019 was Detective
Almost
Pikachu.
a full year. Okay.
I think the reason I felt pretty certain about that was Sonic was like a COVID, we were all in home in 2020 movie.
Yeah. I'll throw this one out for you two and for our listeners. Listeners, if you have any questions, you want to respond to this question, write into dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. What game do you want to see remade well or adapted for TV or movies next? One we didn't mention yet before we answer this. God of War got greenlit for an Amazon series.
Whoa. You know what's weird about that is I'm like, I love that story. I don't know if that one.
Yes, I'm the same way. I don't think I want it. I'm gonna watch it. It
feels weird to say that because I like it.
Yeah, I'm 100% gonna watch it, just like I am The Last of Us, because those are my two of my top 10 video games of all time. But yeah, I don't think we need that one as much.
So would
that one's weird.
WWE 2K22 be a
but that exists
video
already,
game
right?
from a show? I'm asking, should it be included in this video game?
No, it's a show.
Adaptation?
It's a show first.
It's a show first.
No, it's a game. A video game adaptation would be started as a game, had nothing to do with the show.
That's an adaptation of a TV show.
That's fair.
But I like where your brain's at, though.
Okay, so my answers would be I would like to see actually, I won't say all of them. Okay, so I want to see Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I would like to see that.
That'd be a good one.
The original one made into a Star Wars show. I think it'd be better as a show.
Okay. I got one if you're still thinking, Preston.
Go ahead.
You got one?
Yeah, I got one. I would love to see GTA 5 and all three protagonists. Like,
GTA would be a good one.
The story is good. And so that'd be cool to see it from three different perspectives too.
Nice.
Man, would that show even work?
I don't know.
That would be a crazy show.
I don't know which one of the series I would do first, but I think we are long overdue for a Legend of Zelda live action movie.
Oh,
I would lean Illumination again. Keep it animated.
Okay. I feel like
I think it would work.
I think
work
the
both ways.
world would divide no matter which way you do it. Like, because there's so many fans.
I think the animation is a safer gamble.
Oh, much.
I think live action is much easier to screw up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and animation is easier to fix. For sure.
There was someone did some like virtual reality, or I don't know what it was, some homebrew art for a Zelda movie, and they used Tom Holland. And I was like, he actually looks good, but I don't want it. Like,
and then
I'm like, I don't I don't know.
They cast like Emma Watson as Zelda, and like I forget, like Jack Black or somebody as Ganondorf, but then somebody redid all of they re-photoshopped all of those and just made Tom Holland every character, which is even funnier to me.
Yeah. Do you think an Elder Scrolls something could work? I know it's a little open-ended as far as like storylines go, but I feel like that universe is super.
It could be cool, but I would almost see like a Fallout game before I saw an Elder Scrolls series, or a Fallout series would be kind of cool. Like
that'd be interesting.
Post-apocalyptic, but like nuclear warfare, mutations, zombie monster thing, kind of in the same vein of what's popular right now. But I think that has more legs than like your Skyrim, just because it's like it's not generic. There is a story to it, but I just feel like it doesn't have as much teeth as something like Fallout does.
I'll tell you, Preston, along the same veins of what you said, I think a Red Dead Redemption show could be really good.
Let's go. I like that.
I mean, Yellowstone just came out and that was kind of popular. It's like that kind of like...
Yeah, but the story of the first Red Dead Redemption is really good. The second one is so convoluted.
I haven't played.
I mean, it's still good.
I haven't played those games. That's on my list. I need to play those.
I just think of Red Dead Redemption 1 as a much shorter game is what I'm thinking. BioShock would also be excellent. I think I've mentioned that. I feel like I've mentioned that.
BioShock would be cool. Excellent. Ghost of Tsushima up there as well. Definitely live action. Because it's realism. Like there's almost nothing like that's like far-fetched in that game other than some of the combat, but like the story setting, it's all based in some sort of like realism. So I think that'd be really
What do
cool.
you think about and I know they have done Final Fantasies.
I didn't talk about those. I wanted to. But go ahead. Sorry. I mean,
do you think of I think of the old animated ones from like the 2000s. Like, did you think those were good?
So I never saw The Spirits Within, which is like the very first one from like 2001. And I've heard it was absolutely awful. They did Advent Children, which is a Final Fantasy VII movie that I actually really like, but that's just because I'm a super nerd for Final Fantasy. And I don't think it serves anybody but the ultra fans of that series. I think it's cool, but it's like it's adapted Japanese and like it's just, I don't think it appeals to many more audiences. It doesn't have mass appeal. And then the Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive movie was actually just kind of bad. It looks cool, but that's about it. It's nothing more than a technical visual showcase.
Yeah. But there's so many different possibilities, and we could go forever on this.
Yeah, but I don't think we should. I think we should let our listeners, write into us at dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys to talk about this and what TV shows and movies you think need to be made out of video games and stuff, and any other topics that you'd like to hear us talk about. And I know we didn't really get to like any like dad life stuff this episode, but we are going a little long. We had a lot to talk about in terms of like news stories and stuff, but maybe we'll make up for that in a future episode.
Sounds good.
But yeah, thank you guys. And thanks listeners, everybody for listening. We will catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.